What happened at Astroworld Festival was no demonic ritual. The crowd was not being controlled by evil sound frequencies or anything of the sort. What happened at Astroworld Festival, as tragic as it was racial capitalism being its normal, greedy, violent, inhumane self. Hello, Pride. I am LaKayla, the last Leo. For those of you who don't know, I am a PhD candidate in African and African Diaspora Studies at the University of Texas at Austin. And I operate this channel in support of the Last Leo Conjure Company, which is the space for Black Indigenous spirituality, surviving modernity and late-stage capitalism, radical self-sustainability, and body-mind alignment. So if you're into that, hit follow, hit subscribe, hit whatever you need to hit so that you get these videos whenever they come out. And now let's get into it. To really talk about Astroworld Festival, we got to start with Six Flags Astroworld, the now defunct amusement park, which ruled the city of Houston back in the day. And essentially, we kind of have to talk about the city of Houston as well. Six Flags Astroworld was immensely popular in the Houston community. It was permanently closed almost exactly 16 years ago and was completely demolished just a few months later. Since then, there have been so many rumors about the park being rebuilt bigger and better. Unfortunately, none of those ever came to fruition, which was a huge disappointment for Houstonians. The park was open since the 70s. There were so many people that went to Astroworld as kids and got older, had their own kids, and were able to take their own kids to Astroworld. It held a very special place in the heart of Houstonians and many folks throughout the state of Texas. If you're watching this, you probably already know that Travis Scott, whose real name is Jacques Webster, and whom I will be referring to as Jacques Webster or Webster for the remainder of this video. You probably know that he named his third studio album Astroworld after the first album named Rodeo and the second Birds in the Trap Sing Brian McKnight. In his decision to name the album and the resulting tour and festival Astroworld, Webster was attempting to score up some of that nostalgia from when he himself was young as a Black kid near the Houston area who would visit Astroworld. When this was first announced, I immediately felt in my soul that I did not like it, and I couldn't explain it. It felt weird because it was like, I don't own the experience of Astroworld. I was able to go no more than 2 times as a kid because it was so prohibitively expensive, and hundreds of thousands of other people have went. So I didn't understand why I felt the way that I felt when I found out he was naming the album Astroworld, but I knew that something was going to happen. I felt it in my soul, I kid you not. Speaking briefly on Mr. Webster, he is from Memorial City, Texas, which is a suburb. You may know it as a suburb. We say it's just on the outskirts of the city. Memorial City is a middle-class area. When Webster was first establishing himself as an artist, he did not put any emphasis on the fact that he grew up in Memorial City. In fact, he kind of turned attention away from it and made claims of having this experience growing up in the hood, whatever that means. He definitely was doing work to cover up this middle-class background, which he most definitely had growing up in a 2-parent household where 2 parents are employed in Memorial City, Texas. There is just no way that Travis Scott was struggling the way that he claimed to have been struggling at the beginning of his career, especially because he stated that he'd been to Astroworld many times. And as I just said, it was prohibitively expensive. It was so expensive. In order to go many times, you had to have going many times money. All this to say, Webster has been moving funny since the beginning of his career. As an entertainer, he definitely made moves to obscure who he is, who he was. And often these communications made it seem like he didn't really know who he was. Nevertheless, he named this album and this festival from 2018-2019 after Astroworld, and then decided to have the festival on the gravesite of the former park. I want to talk about Houston because Houston is a particularly Black space, and although by no means only Black kids were going to Astroworld, because of the cost and because of how elevated Astroworld is in Houston culture and Texas culture, it means something different to Black folks. Houston is loudly and boldly Black in a lot of ways that people credit Atlanta for. Houston also has so much of that energy, yet Jacques Webster, in his, you can call it artistry, I'll just say his commercial products, has exhibited a treasonous attitude towards Blackness. I'm talking about the way he faked his origins at the beginning of the career. I'm talking about also at the beginning of his career, how he took music from a Black woman and passed it off to Kanye West as his own. I'm talking about his dalliance with agents of anti-Blackness and white supremacy. Yeah, by no means is he the only one. He's just one major one from Houston, the city that I am from. Honestly, anything you need to know about Travis Scott, you can glean from looking at who buys his albums, who shows up to his shows, who are his ragers or whatever. They're a bunch of white kids, a bunch of white and non-Black kids who understand him as this accessible Negro plaything. And that's what he wants. He probably doesn't think of it in those terms, but he wants that acceptance from them, even if it comes at a cost, no matter what the cost is. It's very clear that he wants to be seen and understood as this rebel rocker artist who is all about transcending racial boundaries and everybody do what you want. Who cares about authority? Who cares of what other people say? Everybody just do what you want, as if that's any kind of radical position at all, or any kind of difficult position to take. This type of acceptance that he so clearly craves in the entertainment world comes at a cost, a spiritual cost, if not anything else. Well, it's about to be a huge financial cost. But before all this went down, there were spiritual costs that he was most definitely paying and is still paying. If we understand all these moments where he denied pieces of himself, covered up pieces of himself, gave pieces of his soul away for that acceptance as transgressions against spirit, against his own ancestral body, against the Black communal ancestral body, then what happened at Astroworld Festival starts to take on a whole other meaning. What Webster is facing and will continue to face for the foreseeable future is chickens coming home to roost. There has to be consequences for the things you do. You might think that the late nights are the sacrifices and then you get the thing you want and then it's over with. You may think that the rumors and all the difficulties of being in the industry, that's the hard part. And then once you through with that, it's all good. No, there's a spiritual price to pay for the decisions you make. And the amount of money you accumulate and the amount of tension you have demanded, it just scales it all up. It scales it all the way up. What those attendees experienced and suffered under, it was spirit delivering a very hard message to him. And all those people saw him get it, and even more are watching him continue to receive it. A lot of the people who were there keep using this language of the devil and demonic and hell. A lot of people who were not there and who just see videos are also using that language. There's been these really passionate accounts, and I take everything they're saying at face value. I don't need to work to believe them. I don't need to twist my mind. Not only did I also see the videos, but hearing them talk, I believe every word they're saying. However, I do not believe that they have the language to truly articulate what is going on. I believe they felt scared for their lives. I believe they felt they were about to die. I believe that they felt that they had just fallen into the ninth circle of hell. One person literally said it was like going to a concert in hell. Most of the time, I don't bother discussing any type of conspiracy theory unless it's in good fun. But there's so much traction behind what's going on with this use of the devil and demonic and hell in reference to what happened at Astroworld Fest that I cannot miss this opportunity to set a couple of things straight. The victims of the festival, they didn't feel like they were in hell because people were doing demonic rituals and because there was something satanic going on. They felt like they were in hell because racial capitalism has brought hell to earth. People in the crowd who were not caring about the people that were getting hurt, people who were a part of organizing, promoting, filming the show, who did not care that people were getting hurt, the reason they didn't care wasn't because demonic rituals. Everybody in that crowd was fair game. I guarantee you, all of those concert organizers and the artists on stage, they all look out to that crowd and they see people that are beneath them. It's really wild, especially for you Black artists, because any white kid in that crowd could pick up a phone and call a dad or a brother or an uncle for anything and just have you thrown in jail if they wanted to. The concert goer whose video on Instagram went viral, where he said it felt like going to a concert in hell, was also telling about how he was sitting up on a barricade and was pulling people from one side that were choking and suffocating and getting hurt and not being able to breathe. He was pulling them from one side of the barricade he was on to the VIP section. And the folks in VIP were getting mad at him because these were people that paid thousands of extra dollars to have this special seat or whatever, a special seat to get COVID, I guess. They were getting upset at him for trying to help people. That wasn't the devil. That wasn't no demonic spirits. That wasn't no evil sound frequencies. That wasn't none of that. That's how those people are all the time. When you see that and you don't have the language to really articulate what's going on, it can seem like people are just possessed. It can seem like people have turned into the worst versions of themselves just out of nowhere. But the truth is those versions of those people are always there, just waiting to come out. The mechanisms of racial capitalism have worked their way into every single aspect of our experience in this world. It's everywhere. That is the evil y'all are talking about. That's the evil you're looking for. There's no Satan coming through and possessing people, demons coming through and possessing people, people just going from one state to a different state out of nowhere. That's not what's happening. Racial capitalism is the evil you are looking for. And the greed and lack of care that racial capitalism requires has worked its way into the fibers of everyone's being. All of us, myself included. Anybody who wants to work against that has to actively work against that. And to do that, you have to know what's going on. You have to be cognizant of how and when it shows up, and you have to fight that. You can't start that process if you don't know what's going on, and most don't. Everything about our world, everything about how we move through this world depends on certain people being organized at different levels of value and importance based on who they are, different aspects of who they are. That penetrates every single thing about our lives. It organizes every single thing about our lives. Jack Webster, Mr. Webster, Travis Scott, whatever you want to call him, has made his bed. All of the decisions that put him here on this stage, that gave him the power to take hundreds of thousands of people's childhood memories and do whatever he wanted with them. Like, all of those decisions led him to this horrific tragedy. And he's made his bed. He's got a lie in it. And that's what it means for chickens to come home to roost.